So it is my honor today to present to you our keynote presentation for this afternoon. Avery is a master at the art of relationship building and has used that mastery to forge meaningful friendships with people all around the world. He is a 2018 Sacramento State University graduate, receiving a BA in economics and a minor in communications. In 2023, he obtained a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion certificate through Cornell University. He has studied in Sydney, Australia, and interned at Washington, D.C. PR firm K Global. In addition, Avery has facilitated workshops around the United States on the power of social and emotional intelligence in the workplace. Next piece of this cohort is Brian. So this is father and son. Brian spent over 25 years in executive sales leadership position with AT&T and the Bank of America. He oversaw regional sales organizations, statewide affinity marketing channels, and new and emerging market programs during that time. While in leadership, he carefully crafted collaborative team environments designed to be mentally healthy workspaces that helped employees succeed in their personal and professional journeys. In 2018, he retired from corporate America, congratulations, to found Respectology, LLC. He is a certified social and emotional intelligence coach, a train-the-trainer facilitator, and a TEDx presenter. Brian attended San Francisco State University. Welcome.
The Avery and Brian experience.
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 The Avery Brian experience was awesome.
I thought it was enriching.
Amazing.
It's offered a lot of insight.
More people who need to hear what they had to say today.
We got the honor to listen to Brian and Avery, and I just have to tell anybody who's contemplating whether or not to come and see them it's an experience and one that you won't regret. I know I'm going to go back and not just implement this with my own family, but implement this into the work that I do with children and families and the staff that I lead.
Coming to the stage in a few seconds are two brothers that I've had the pleasure of knowing for over a decade. What you're about to witness is something very special, something that's never been done before. I ain't seen nothing like this before. This father and son duo is already changing people's lives, and they're determined to make a positive change in the world today. I think we can all agree the world needs more of that. Now, if you haven't heard these two brothers speak in person, get ready to be blown away. Get ready for your life to change. Who's ready for that? Now I need you to give these guys your energy and your full attention. Without further ado, I give you the Avery and Brian experience. Let's go.
Man, look, y'all don't know how much convincing it took to put some hip hop into our keynote. I'm so excited about that.
See, the problem is he doesn't understand what real music is. I keep telling him we got to put some jazz in there for the baby boomer generation.
Okay, boomer. What's up, everybody? Okay. I know it's after lunch. I know we're almost to the end of the day. But when I say what's up, everybody, I need to hear the loudest what's up that Reno has ever heard. What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? All right.
There you go.
I think we're in the right space.
That's it.
Let me just start by saying that this summit has been incredible. The energy in this room today has been awesome. Give yourself a round of applause for being here today, being present. I love it. I love it. So I just want to get a quick vibe check, all right? By show of hands, raise your hand for me if when you were growing up, your parents got on your last nerve.
Wow.
2 hands up for me. So I'm gonna need y'all to send some positive vibes my way because I gotta work with this man every single day.
That's where we're going already?
That's right.
Okay, all right. Okay, look, so before we dive in, I have to share a text message with you that I got from my wife a couple of hours ago. Now, usually She'll send a text, some positive affirmation, something uplifting, right? This is what she sent me. She said, "Hey there, I know your session this afternoon is going to be awesome. Just remember, don't try to be too funny, too charming, or too intellectual. Just be yourself." Right? Okay, there's more. There's more. She said, "P.S. Let Avery be the lead singer, you sing backup. And please don't try to dance. Love you." So I think that you can figure out by this text message that when there's a stalemate in our business decisions and we go to her, who she tends to side with. It's crazy.
Gotta love moms, right?
You gotta love mom. All right. So I'm often asked by people, what is it like to work with your son? And I tell them that as a 58-year-old, having a 27-year-old business partner, it's really challenging. Let me give you an example. I can say to Avery, "Come by the office this afternoon. We got a lot of things to discuss. Move some of these items off of our plate." And he'll say, "Cool. Why don't you text me your thoughts?" And I'm like, "Really? I am not texting you paragraphs of my thoughts. It's not gonna happen." Or check this out. When you get that phone call in the morning and he says, "Hey, Pops, can I borrow your car? Because I need to put mine in the shop." And I'm like, "Cool, come get it." And then he returns it like this. So I need y'all to send me positive vibes because I got to work with this man every single day. As Avery said, the summit has been awesome. First of all, congratulations for the work that you do in the Reno community. Y'all are changing lives and giving people hope, and you should be applauded for that. So good job on that. Secondly, it looks like you better get your tennis shoes on with all of this growth and expansion that's happening. Y'all are going to be busy for quite a while. As a matter of fact, it's so exciting. Give somebody next to you a high five for all of the excitement that's happening right now. Give it up. There you go. There you go. We're going to come back in a year and they're going to be like, "Oh, I'm so tired. We've been doing so much. We've been doing so much." Listen, in today's world, we're having to connect in multi-generational workplaces, and that's not always easy because there are differences in approaches and perspectives when it comes to communication, collaboration. How do we do that more effectively? Culture. We've just talked about culture in the last session here, all right? And even urgency. Avery and I used to travel to the airport together when we had to fly to events, and I had to back out of that because I need to be at the gate 45 minutes to an hour ahead of time, right? I need to sit down, be relaxed, cup of tea, rearrange my bag in case I have to get something when I'm on the flight, know exactly where to go. This dude will come up 5 minutes before the doors of the plane close. No stress, not sweating, and his whole thing is like, what's the big deal? We're on the plane, right? So different perspective and a different approach. So today, we're just gonna have a family conversation in the room about the power of relationships and the art of connection. Now, you just heard in the introduction that I spent 25 years in corporate America. Sharon, when you talked about that this morning, I felt your pain when you said that was too much, right? But one of the reasons that I had a very successful career when I was in corporate America was because I was able to successfully develop relationships while I was there, both with the people that I reported up to and the people that reported to me. All right, that is the key, having successful relationships. Now, everybody in this room has something to offer. You guys are all awesome. I know that because Sharon said you wouldn't be here if you weren't awesome, all right? You all have a story to tell. And having meaningful, helpful relationships will help you be able to share your talents with the world. So this is going to be fun. We're excited to be here at the first summit for the company. Mandy, thank you for the connection. All right, it's going to be a blast. Y'all got to buckle up. This is not your average keynote. We're about to drop some nuggets that you're going to take away. Avery, what are we doing next?
All right, so we're about to do our first activity for the afternoon. We're going to do an activity called 3 apps. Now, 3 apps is an excellent way to see what someone values most on their phone. Okay? Here's how we're going to do it. When we say so, not yet, you all are going to have a discussion with the people at your table. Now, the question we have for you is, if you could only have 3 apps for the rest of time, what 3 apps would they be? Now, disclaimer, features that come with the phone are not considered apps, okay? So in the past, we've had people say, oh, texting, that's not an app. An app is something that you physically downloaded onto your phone. So the camera function, not an app. Calling, not an app, all right? So we're in a pretty good-sized room, and there's a lot of people. So it's going to get pretty loud in here. So we need to figure out a way to get everyone's attention back to front and center. So let's put them on to Shushing Rain.
Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to do something called Shushing Rain. Has anybody ever heard of Shushing Rain? Okay.
They're about to.
Shushing Rain looks and sounds just like this. When you see us doing Shushing Rain, you're gonna join until everyone in the room is doing Shushing Rain at the same time, all right? Let's go ahead and practice that as a group. On the count of 3, we're all gonna do Shushing Rain. 1, 2, 3. Y'all are professionals. I love it. I love it. Y'all got this down quick. Okay, so again, just a reminder. As a table, you all are going to have a discussion and try to get through each person and allow them to share what 3 apps that they would keep for the rest of time. Now, before we get started, are there any questions about this activity? Any questions? No question? Oh, we do have a question. Yes. Then name as many as you can. If you don't have 3, that's what I'm saying. Name 1 or 2 or 1 or 2, I guess. That's the only options, right? It's 1, 2, or 3, I guess, right? So yes, the goal is to get to 3. If you don't have 3, that's okay. You're not getting graded on this assignment. It's all good. Any other questions? All right, we're going to give you all about 4 minutes for each table to share amongst their group. I've got my timer set. On your mark, get set, go. All right. So I heard a lot of laughter during that, so I'm kind of curious. I want to hear what people chose as their 3 apps. So if you just raise your hand, I'm going to get my jog on, and I'm going to run over to you, and I want to hear what 3 apps you decided to keep for the rest of the time. Who would like to go? Oh, all right. Thank you for making this easy for me.
Google, Citibank, and iTunes.
All right. I like that. That's a nice variety right there. Google, Citibank, iTunes. Okay, who else? Right here.
Let's see. We had, number 1 was like the music, like Spotify or something like it.
Okay.
And then we had a 3-way tie, like our banking app, Facebook, and like Audible books.
Okay, all right, I love that. I'm glad you didn't say Pandora, right? Because I tried to get my dad on the family plan for Spotify, yet he still uses Pandora. I'm like, oh my gosh. Why do you listen to ads? I don't know why he does this.
So my first one would actually be Pandora. So
thank you.
I've been building that playlist since like 2008.
I love it. I love it. I love
and
it.
then probably Pinterest, not my banking app, and Instagram.
Okay.
Instagram.
All right, there we go. Thank
Going
you
with
for
the
that.
gram.
Thank you. Who else? Oh, okay, I'll go here and then I'll go with Matt's side. Right here.
Okay, so we are going to say music, like a music app, some type of streaming app like Netflix, Hulu, something like that. And then we originally had said maps, because I would hate to carry a map around. But honestly, we can't also go out without Uber anymore. So.
Okay, I respect it. All right, we have one more person over here. Excuse me. Who had their hand? Was there here? Okay.
Okay, so most of us picked like the class app to like keep track of our kids' schooling and stuff. So mine is Class Dojo, but we had a couple different other ones. And then if any of you know me, we need my NFL app because I need to check my Raiders on a regular.
Okay.
And then of course Amazon.
Ah, yes, Amazon. That's right.
Always
All right. Thank you for those that volunteered. Thank you. We appreciate it. Pops, go ahead.
Absolutely. Okay, so when it comes to relationships, right? Relationships for us are really about life. They really are. And how we create them, how we develop them, how we manage them, it often determines our success, and it can determine our failures. All right, so let me just tell you a little bit about this guy here as we get going. First of all, I can't believe it's been 5 years since we've been working together and he graduated from Sacramento State. And during his senior, give it up for him. That was During his senior year, he came to me and he said, I really don't think I want to get on the corporate hamster wheel after I graduated. So he decided to join me as I started up my company, Respectology. Now, I've always admired his determination and his resilience. One of the things about Avery that none of you in this room know, obviously, is that he has been dealing with attention deficit disorder since he was in high school. But it never deterred him from trying to accomplish his goals, going to study in Sydney, Australia, doing the internship in Washington, D.C., and recently completing the DEI certification from Cornell. And he's just been masterful in creating relationships with people all over the globe, and he's had the opportunity to go and visit with many of them. And not one time, not once, in any of these excursions, did he ever ask me and my wife if we wanted to go with him. Just selfish, but I digress. You know, you'll see us pick at each other a little bit up here, but in all sincerity, as a father, I couldn't be more proud of the human being that he has become. So I admire you, son. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Pops. Thank you. So let me tell you a little bit about my dad. Now, I honestly feel like I have the best father in the world, despite his obsession with jazz music. But throughout my life, he's shown my brother Justin and I what it means to be a great father, a loving husband to my mother, and just a good person overall. In fact, later this year, he and my mom will be celebrating 33 years of marriage, y'all. Give them a round. 33 years, that's a long time in the game. Now, as he mentioned earlier, he spent over 25 years in corporate America. And I've always admired the leadership that he displayed and his ability to forge relationships with people from all walks of life. Perhaps the most inspiring thing that he's done, though, is leave his corporate career, break away from those golden handcuffs, as I like to call it, and launch his own company, Respectology. In fact, I was so inspired that, I decided I had to jump on board, right? But the relationship that you see up here today hasn't always been this way. You see, we used to live on a place that we called Payne Island. When I was 17 years old, we had the biggest confrontation in my life. It was truly the low point of our relationship. But in retrospect, it was also the turning point of our relationship. And it took a lot of love, forgiveness, a willingness to put in the work that allowed us to move from Pain Island to where we are now, which is Pleasure Island. And it's the reason that we are able to be in front of you today. Everything that we're going to talk about will allow you to have prosperous relationships in your life, both professionally and personally. Because having happy, meaningful, positive relationships in your life, that's a gift. And as someone who didn't always have those, I mean that from my heart.
So when you think of your relationships in your life, do they tend to be transactional or relational? Maybe you haven't given a lot of thought about that. But after today, we certainly hope that you will. A few years ago, I was reading an article about a very successful pub owner. And he was talking about the difference between a customer and a guest. He said a customer simply denotes a cash transaction, an exchange of money for goods and services. But a guest, well, that's somebody that you invite into your space, invite in to your home, all right? I think it's important that we start to treat each other like guests. And I think the customer-guest thing is a good example of a transactional approach and a relational approach. We have all seen an erosion of civility in our society for some time now. And so we have to begin to change that. And it starts with you. Matter of fact, turn to the person next to you and say, I think Brian's talking to you right now. Turn to him. I think Brian's talking to you right now. We cannot wait. We cannot wait for other people to start this process. We can't do it. You have to get comfortable modeling this type of behavior because people will follow it if we're able to do it. Imagine the differences in our workplaces and in our world if we began to treat each other as guests and not just as customers. That's big. That's big. One of the core principles in our company is to bring a more human-centered approach to the work that we do. That's not by accident. We work on that every single day because we believe that it makes a difference. It's just an emotionally intelligent way to build our relationships. Emotionally intelligent way to build our relationships. I want to tell you a quick story about a boss I had when I was in corporate America. I was a very young sales executive, and I had just gotten into this particular organization for about 2 weeks before we had our annual kickoff event. Now, this was at a time where companies were spending a ton of money to just take entire sales organizations, go somewhere for 3 days, and just have a motivational experience. This particular year, we went to Disneyland. And we stayed at Disneyland for 3 years. They even shut down the park for us late into the night where we were able to just kind of hang out. We had motivational speakers every single day. And the last day, the motivational speaker was a POW from Vietnam. His story was just riveting. There wasn't a dry eye in the house when he was done, all right? So we go curbside after that to catch the buses back to the airport. And the vice president of this organization, who I had met one time for maybe 60 seconds a week prior to the kickoff, was walking down talking to people as we waited for the bus. So he got to me and he said, well, what did you think about the kickoff? And I was like, I'm just fired up. I cannot wait to get going. This is going to be a ridiculously successful year. Let's do this, right? And he said to me, that's good to hear. And by the way, come here for me, Amy. He puts his hand on my shoulder and he says, "Have a good year for me. My wife is really on me about getting our daughter a new car." Can you imagine how all that motivation and inspiration went out the window for me in that instant? Because he was treating me like a transaction. Again, transactional or relational. It was one of the most miserable years that I ever spent in his organization because I knew that he could care less about me. Now, here's the thing. All he had to do was say, "Have a good year for you and your family." Even if he didn't know my family situation. He didn't have to make it about him. He could have made it about me. It ended up being one of the most valuable lessons in what not to do in leadership, because a few years later, I was having teams of people that I was in charge of. But he also helped me understand how to distinguish between trust makers and trust breakers. When we think about our relationships, certainly the ones that are positive and productive, when we think about those types of things, trust is foundational to all of that.
You know, Pops, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about trust makers and trust breakers in our relationship. So I'm gonna touch on trust makers, and then you can talk about trust breakers, all right? Trust maker number one. When you share your rationale or you share the why behind your actions, that helps build trust. Now, my father did this throughout my childhood. And even though I thought he was kind of loco at times, it helped me realize at least there was a method to his madness. Trust maker number two. When you're not afraid to ask others for their opinions, your staff, your colleagues, your partner, whoever's opinion that you value, that helps to build trust. Trust maker number three. When you can express encouragement, especially in difficult times and challenging times, that can help build someone's trust in you, and you can help build hope in somebody else. Sharing the rationale, asking others for their opinion, and expressing encouragement. All of these trust makers help build our psychological safety in our relationships. And psychological safety will help the people in your life develop trust on a deeper level. What that means for everyone in the room is that this entire work family at Northern Nevada Hopes has the enormous power to help create your workplace culture, to form the climate in your workplace. There are studies that show that when people feel like their workplace cares about them as a person, they are empowered, emboldened, and enthusiastic about the work that they do. This isn't a myth, folks. If you trust the people that you work with and you feel like they trust you as well, you're gonna enjoy going to work the next day, right? If you feel like the person that you work with every single week cares about you and your well-being, you're gonna appreciate going to work with them just a little bit more, right? So when we wanna get the most out of our relationships, we have to begin to take a genuine interest in the lives of other people. Because as my dad mentioned earlier, everyone in here has a story to tell. And you best believe that you can learn something from anyone. Sometimes good, and let's be honest, sometimes not so good. And sometimes learning what not to do is as valuable or more valuable than learning what to do.
All right, so let me talk about some trust breakers, the things that we want to avoid in our relationships. Trust breaker number one, failing to take responsibility. Okay? Listen, mistakes happen. They're going to happen. But how you respond to them is going to make all of the difference in that situation. If you're not able to apologize, if you're not able to take accountability, then that's an easy way to erode trust. Okay? Trust breaker number two, failing to follow through on your commitments. Failing to follow through on your commitments. If you can't do it, don't commit to it. All right? Sometimes we think we have more bandwidth than we actually do. And the reality of it is that you have to think about how it makes you feel when somebody fails to follow through on a commitment that they gave you. So that's trust breaker number two. Trust breaker number three is saying one thing and yet doing another. Now, for any of the parents in the room, you may have had a child or some children that were really good at this particular trust breaker. I know my two kids were excellent at it. So let me show you what I mean by that.
So when Avery got his driver's license, one of the first things that he wanted to do was drive to a Drake concert that was happening at an arena in Sacramento. So he was a pretty trustworthy kid up until that point, and I was cool with that. So I gave him the keys to the car and $20 for parking, and I simply just said, drive for everybody else, be careful, be home by 1 o'clock. So he leaves at 12:15, my phone rings. I see it's Avery, so I pick it up and I just say, yo, what's up, man?
Hey, Pops, can you pick us up from the concert?
Well, what's going on, man? What's wrong with the car?
Yeah, I can't find the car.
Okay, man, well, I've lost cars in big arena parking lots too. Quit being lazy, just walk around and find it.
Yeah, so about that, I didn't actually park in the arena parking lot. I parked, across the street where those restaurants are.
Dude, did you get my car towed? I mean, there are no tow signs all over those strip malls.
I know, and I've been looking for the signs, and I don't see. Oh. Saying one thing, yet doing another. And that $20 that I tried to pocket by not parking in the arena parking lot turned into $300 that I had to pay my dad back to get his car out. Remember that job that I just got? All that money went.
Listen, everybody, the number one thing that you can do to manage your relationships and manage your connections is to have a better understanding of who you are. A better understanding of who you are. And that begins with self-awareness. Now, we hear the term self-awareness put out all of the time. Well, what is it exactly? It is just the knowledge of your internal state, all of the strengths that you possess, as well as the weaknesses, your personality and your character. Why you value the things that you value become more clear when you're on a journey of self-awareness. Why you believe what you believe is better understood. So you can think of your self-awareness as an internal mechanism into what it is that makes you tick. Now, if you're going to really dive into self-awareness, it requires you to be brutally honest. You gotta be brutally honest and do some accurate self-assessment. All right? So, I'm in my mid-50s, and I think that
Hold on.
What's up?
Earlier, you just told everyone you're 58. Man, you're supposed to round up, not round down, bro. I think you're having a senior moment, my man. Come on.
Okay, I'm almost 60 years old. How's that?
There you go. That's better.
I'm almost 60 years old. And like everybody in this room, I have blind spots. We all have them. So let me ask a question. If you were to look in the mirror, would you be able to accurately describe the person that you see. All of the attributes, all of the characteristics. Moreover, if somebody was looking in the mirror with you at the same time, would they describe the same person that you do? That's the question.
I like these questions.
Okay.
But let me go ahead and tell them a funny story about my blind spots.
Okay.
Okay. So back when I was in college, I worked as an orientation leader at Sacramento State. Now, mind you, I'm also from Sacramento. So shortly after I got hired, the entire team got together to do some team building exercises. Now, for some reason, when it was my turn to introduce myself, I go, "Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Avery, and I'm from the Dirty 916. Why did I say I was from the Dirty 916? I don't know, but 19-year-old me thought it was funny and cool. That was until my bosses pulled me aside, and they said, "You know, that's not appropriate for this setting. And you could be rubbing someone the wrong way by saying that." The truth is, everyone in here has blind spots. And we cannot be afraid to learn about our blind spots, even when the truth hurts. So in order to improve everything that we've talked about thus far, transactional versus relational, trust makers versus trust breakers, self-awareness, we have to ask and answer one very important question. Who are you? This is going to lead us into one gigantic interactive exercise called, wait for it, who are you? Go ahead, Pops.
Okay, so when we tell you to, we want you to pair up with someone in the room. This is going to be a two-person activity. So Avery, I think we should demonstrate who are you.
For sure.
Because one person is going to ask a question, the other person is going to answer.
That's right.
So we put 30 seconds on the clock.
Okay.
Am I asking you? You're asking me.
Go ahead and ask me the question.
Okay, all right. Avery, who are you?
I am an author.
Nice. But who are you?
I am a motivational speaker.
But who are you, Avery?
I am a proud son and a proud brother.
Nice. Who are you?
I am a sports enthusiast.
Very cool. But who are you?
I'm a Sacramento State grad. Stingers up, baby.
But who are you, Avery?
I'm also a huge Sacramento Kings fan.
That's good. But who are you, Avery?
I am out of time.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So you saw that we put 30 seconds on the clock. Avery had 30 seconds to answer the question. All of y'all are going to have 1 minute to answer the question. Who are you? When that minute is up, we are going to switch, and the person who was asking the question will then answer the question. Go ahead, son.
Yep. Before we get started, are there any questions about this exercise? Yes. Believe it or not, that is the first time someone has actually asked that question to me. Good on you. Good on you. That was good. I like that. I like that. So to recap, one person is going to sit there and ask the question, who are you? You're going to let that person respond. And then you're going to ask them again, who are you? And you're going to let them respond again. Then you're going to ask them again. So on and so forth for 1 minute. All right?
All right. So you need to pair up. So find someone to pair up with.
Do we have 5 volunteers that would like to come up front with us and help us debrief this exercise? 5 volunteers. If you'd like to volunteer, please raise your hand. Okay, there you go. Thank you.
We know you're not a shy group.
2, come on up. 3. I saw 2 right there. There we go.
I saw someone hold someone else's hand up. That's what I saw.
One more. We need one more.
Here
we got 4 ladies. Where the fellas at?
Where the fellas at?
There we go.
On,
Thank you.
Come on
Thank
up.
you. Let's get some representation up here. Come on.
There we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we got 5. Excellent. Come on in. need that mic, Avery.
All right.
Thank you, sir. That was very brave of you to come up. I can't remember before we got, you said it was
25 push-ups, yeah.
25
push-ups, yeah.
And then what? And some burpees after? Okay. All right. Thank you very much for coming up and joining us. This is going to be harmless. All right. So I just have a couple of questions. I'm going to ask you the question. I'm going to ask you to pass the mic down, and then we're going to ask a question and come back. Okay? So first question. Did you find the activity easy or difficult?
About in the middle.
In the middle.
Okay.
Easy.
Easy. Easy peasy.
Found it easy.
Easy. Okay. All right.
Easy as well.
Ooh.
Difficult.
Thank you for the honesty.
Right? Real talk. Okay. All right. So coming back this way, why? Why did you find it difficult? Why did
I had to think about who I was.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, go a little bit deeper.
Well, I'm an introvert, actually. At least I think I am, but I could be wrong. So talking about myself, I find it hard sometimes. So I had to think about it.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you for the honesty.
Easy because my friend of 20 years told me who I was.
Wait a minute. So she answered the questions for you?
Yes.
All right. Right.
I think we needed to explain the instructions a little bit
this,
better.
Right? Okay. Very good. Go right ahead.
It's probably easier because I went second. So.
That's the key.
Honestly, okay.
I found it easy because I think there are things I know about myself. Like I know I'm funny. I know I'm a mom. I know I'm a daughter. I know I'm a sister, an oldest sister. So.
All right. I'm
I can talk about myself.
There it is.
All right.
There it is. Go ahead, sir.
I found it kind of in the middle because I know myself fairly well. I just don't like talking about myself.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Okay. So last question. How do you think an exercise like this can help people in their relationships?
It's good to know who you are because that gives you a base of how you're going to react to other people.
Okay. Thank you.
I think it helps for other people to know, well, it helps for you to know yourself so that you can present yourself to others as who you want to be.
Okay.
I think it's good because it gives you the opportunity to actually actively listen to others and get to know people on a deeper level.
Yeah, listening is important.
This exercise was helpful because then you can find something in common to talk about.
Yeah,
with
very
the other
good.
person.
Okay.
Okay, difficult. No, it makes you think about who you are and actually really think about it, but on the spur of the moment, like on the fly. And a lot of times we just don't. So for me, I don't. And I think that it's just impactful in terms of seeing how much in common you have with another individual that you're talking to. And you want me to talk some more because I'm an introvert and I will talk forever.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you very much. I want to check this I'm funny thing with somebody that knows that you're funny because I love it. There you go. There you go. All right, look at this. All right, great. You'll be here all week, right? Very good. Okay, so listen, thank you. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet starting Friday. Don't leave yet. We want, because of your bravery to come up, we want to give you a copy of our book. All right. The book that Avery and I wrote together.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming up. Y'all can take your seats. Thank you.
Give our volunteers a round of applause.
Thank you. So what do you tell me? Don't give you the mic, huh?
No, don't give me the mic.
Okay. What else with you?
All right. It's not easy. It's not easy coming up in front of a group of people. Ask Jerry, right? He told us. He told us early on. So I want to take everyone back to March the 2nd, 2017. As it was mentioned earlier, I had the opportunity to study abroad while I was in college. And I'm sitting on a plane at Los Angeles International Airport, waiting to take off for a 15-hour flight to Sydney, Australia. I was nervous, I was anxious, I was excited, but above all, I was ready for this journey. Now, what you all have to understand is, leading up to this trip, I had to decide what my living arrangements would be. And there was no doubt in my mind that I knew what type of living arrangement I wanted to be in. One of my options was to live in a 5-bedroom apartment with other students from around the world. No doubt in my mind, that was the choice. But then my dad said, nah, bro, you need to get you a studio apartment. Get to know you better. And I looked at him and I said, wow, this dude is so lame. I mean, why wouldn't I want to live with people from around the world? What? But what my dad was talking about was building my self-awareness. So when the day came and I received an email letting me know what my living arrangements would be, the only option that was available was a studio apartment. Now you see the face that he's making right there? That's the exact same face that he was making on that day. I was so furious. But you know what? He was right. Because when I got out there, no friends, no family around, there was a lot of isolation time for me to figure out who I was. So I began developing my self-awareness. I started journaling daily. I started doing some mindfulness exercises. And then something amazing happened. For the first time in my life, while I was on the other side of the world by myself, I began loving being by myself and with myself. Instead of seeking validation in others, I sought that from within. Instead of yearning to be around other people, I yearned to be by myself. I even learned what it meant to go on a digital detox. Meaning, there were times where I didn't even feel the need to have my phone in my hand. Y'all know how challenging that is for a millennial like me? It's challenging. But the cool thing about all of that was, because I started loving myself more in a way that I had never done before, it gave me the confidence. It made me comfortable in going out and showing the world my best self. And because of that, I was able to forge connections with people from all over the globe. And since then, I've gone to 8 different countries to go visit my friends. Y'all, that's just an example of the power of developing your self-awareness and how it can show up in your relationships. It's always interesting how an exercise like Who Are You has the opportunity to bring forth both your best qualities and your deepest insecurities, right? Because it forces you to look inward and examine yourself. And maybe it forces you to tell someone else what you want them to know about you. That's why we have to begin to ask ourselves this question. Whether it's daily, weekly, a couple of times a month, if you want to see improvement in your life, if you want to have healthier, more productive relationships in your life, as a leader, if you want to help elevate others and have them show the world what they can offer, it starts with you. I want everyone to take their index finger right now and point it towards your chest. Now turn to your neighbor and tell them, it starts with me. Now turn to your other neighbor and tell them, it starts with me.
I like that.
It starts. I love a little self-love, right? It starts with each and every one of us, every single person in this room, which is why this exercise is also a practice of self-love. You see, too often, we inundate ourselves with negative self-talk. You know, those intrusive thoughts, they attack your confidence. They attack your self-worth. They tell you you can't instead of you can. I know I'm not the only one in the room that experiences this. But we have to combat that negative self-talk, something that I like to call head trash. My dad calls it the noisy neighbor upstairs. He's always trying to get the neighbor to be quiet, right? We have to combat this head trash by speaking love and breathing life into ourselves. This means surrounding ourselves with people that build us up and not tear us down. You see, people in our lives do 4 things. They either add or subtract, or multiply or divide. I'm gonna go say that on this side of the room. I don't know if y'all feeling me. People in our lives do 4 things. They either add or subtract, or multiply or divide. It's true. Now, another way that we can begin to breathe life and speak love to ourselves is by being intentional about how we start our days and end our nights. Energy is important, y'all. And let's be honest, there is a ton of negativity circulating all of our feeds, right? Whether that's in the news, on social media, heck, it could even be in some of your favorite shows. Now, I've had to learn to not indulge in some of these things either right before I go to bed or right when I wake up. I remember last year, Netflix came out with this new show, and it was super popular. Everybody was talking about it. All my friends were like, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it. It's about Jeffrey Dahmer. And I was like, okay, cool, maybe I'll get to it. Now, I'm not a doctor, but if that's the last thing that you're watching before you go to bed, chances are you may not wake up in a good mood, right? Like, chances are you're probably not going to bed with some peace of mind. Now, if you are going to bed with some peace of mind after watching something like that, that's a completely separate conversation, all right? Look, folks, at the end of the day, every single one of us, we have to have a better understanding of the person that we see in the mirror in order to have healthier relationships with those around us. And that's why this exercise, Who Are You, is so important. And that's why we encourage you to do an exercise like this, like I said, daily, weekly. Do it with your best friend. Do it with your coworker, a family member. Cool thing about it is you can even do it with yourself.
That's it. That's it. Okay. So when I was a teenager, I had a conversation with my grandfather. And I made the comment that, Gramps, time is really flying by. And my grandfather looked at me without missing a beat. He said, son, time stays the same. We fly by. It took me decades to really understand that my grandfather was talking about time being a gift. So as we close this keynote with you this afternoon, I want to talk to you for just a minute about the gift of time. So on February the 11th, 2008, I had just gotten to my office for a weekly 9 o'clock conference call. At 8:55, my phone rang. It was my father's number, so I just picked it up and simply said, hey, what's up? And on the other end was a friend of my father's who had been staying with him as he recovered from knee replacement surgery the month before. My father's friend proceeded to tell me that my dad had passed away in his sleep that evening. I instantly felt like I walked off of a cliff, and I could not stop my fall. 1 year to the day of my father's memorial service, exactly a year, my only brother Mark passed away. 6 months after that, on the morning of my birthday, my grandmother, who I just loved, just out of this world, she transitioned. My grandfather that I had that conversation with had died 6 months prior to my father. So in the span of 23 months, I had lost my heroes, my role models, my mentors, and quite frankly, I lost a big part of myself. For the first time in my life, in my 40s, I was having a mental health crisis. Now, I never thought that I would experience that, right? That was the ignorance in me. You know, depression, what is that? That's for somebody else. Wrong. I was depressed. Anxiety, what is that? Panic attacks, what is that? Insomnia, I sleep like a baby. Took me 10 years to be able to get solid nights of sleep. I'm so grateful for therapy. I'm grateful to my wife and my children. I'm grateful to my family and my friends, even though I was not reciprocating the love that they were giving to me at that time, but they did not give up on me. That's the beauty of having relationships that are healthy. So when it comes to my father, I often felt like I hit the lottery. My dad was an educator. He was a teacher, as well as a principal, and an educational researcher for over 40 years. He was just a really down-to-earth, cool dude. And everything that we talked about today, the relational interactions, trust makers, developing self-awareness, he was simply just masterful at that. His life was an example of the power of relationships. So at his memorial service, over 400 people attended. And person after person got up and talked about how my father impacted their life. And later that day, my brother and I, and my wife and my sister-in-law were talking to people, and they were just saying, you know, your dad, he was just my best friend. He was just my best friend. Now, we kind of chuckled a little bit because we knew who my father's best friends were. We had been hanging out with them for years. But what does it say about a person who can make somebody feel like they are their best friend? I miss my family members dearly. There's not a day that goes by, not one day that goes by, that I don't think about one of them. And I'm so thankful for that. And I'm also thankful that I don't have any regrets because we had a beautiful relationship. I miss them, but we had a beautiful relationship. So, are your relationships where you want them to be? Are they where you need them to be? And if not, what are you going to do about it while you have the gift of time? I'm going to just close this with a quote from the late Stuart Scott, who used to be a sportscaster on ESPN for a couple of decades. And he said, life consists of 2 dates with a dash in the middle. Make the dash count. My name is Brian. That's Avery. Go out and make your dash count. Thank you all for having us. We appreciate you.